Hey guys. So today starts the first day of Hey Girl, Let's Talk. I'm super excited. Fair warning, I am cooking something, so I might be checking on that really quickly. But I am so excited, guys. Yay! Um, so today we're gonna be talking about breast cancer. It's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And so that was something that I want to talk about, as well as Domestic Violence Awareness Month as well. So we are bringing this up because it affects so many women in the world. And, you know, I personally know people who have gone through things. I think that for young women in general, we often have to navigate these spaces where we're not sure where to go or we're not sure what to do in certain situations. And, I just want to make sure that women are empowered to move throughout their life, especially when you're young, you're not sure of warning signals and um, what ifs. So, this is the space for us. So, today, girl, let's talk because nobody prepares you for the fear that comes after the diagnosis. When it's your mom, your sister, your best friend, it hits different. You start wondering, what does this mean for me, for my future, for my family? So, this conversation is for caregivers, daughters, their friends, the ones who we turn this fear into awareness and compassion and action. So for me, if you got to attend this last weekend, we had Empower to Thrive, and you got to meet my family, both my mom and my sister, at the summit, and they told a little bit of their story and essentially what we're about. So this is kind of slightly a continuation, but on a different context because that was about careers and everything in terms of careers. So this is more about like my story in terms of you know juxtaposed of like my mom's story because she's been living with breast cancer for a while now, 13 years. She's a breast cancer thriver. And, you know, I have many people in my family, cousins, both my grandmothers all had breast cancer. And so it was very challenging when it comes to both my health, but also navigating like that space where like that fear of like losing them from it. And I don't think, at least I haven't seen many talks about this because it's like, I don't think we talk about the other side of it, like the family side, from the context of fearing what's next for you. So, um, I'll start with one prompt, um, and hopefully we can take some time to talk about it. So, this first one is, because we all know someone that has breast cancer or some form of cancer. Do you remember a moment of fear that hit you when you realized someone close to you was diagnosed? And I will put that up on the screen. So I'll give everybody 5 minutes to go through that. Okay. So, do you remember the moment of fear that hit you when you realized someone close to you was diagnosed? And so, for me, I do remember the fear, but also it was actually quite weird. So, like, my nana was diagnosed with breast cancer, and she had such a weird reaction to it that she was just very mellow about it, which I don't know. She was very mellow about it. She wound up having surgery. And she didn't seem it didn't seem to bother her. Like she went on a trip beforehand, like she got diagnosed, went on a trip, and then, went through her treatment. And so I don't quite like remember. I think I kind of was fearful, but also like I was very I was a little bit more optimistic, I think only because of the way she reacted. And then but then when my mom um was diagnosed, I was way more fearful because I realized that hers was a little bit more far along. So like my grandmother's her staging was different. And so for me, I was like, oh, okay, like they just have to do this. And I tend to intellectualize a lot, which means like, you know, I have to I take the I take the science into account of like what's going on. So like that's kind of how that's my coping mechanism is like, oh, okay, well, you know, I'll look up the data and I'll be like, oh, you have this percentage, you know, this is the percentage that you have of like being okay. And so like that's what kind of helps me along, right? Or that's what helped me along. Well, with my mom, she was farther along, so of course the further along you are, like the numbers kind of go down. But they had a solid plan for her and we were very hopeful. So she went through, she like if like I said, if you had came this past weekend, she had discussed like, you know, kind of partially discussed, she kind of went through her own treatment plan. I'll let her tell her story. Um and then she she was done. They had classified her as being okay, and that was that. Um, or so we thought. And so, and so, um, I think for because I'm so close to my mom, like she's more of like a friend to me, and she always has been. It was kind of, and it came out of nowhere because like my grandmother was older, so I had kind of in my head, again, intellectualizing this, I kind of in my head was like, oh yeah, you know, she's older, so maybe that's just a thing. And hold on, let me just check this really quickly, guys. Sorry. Whoopsies. Okay, I'm back. Sorry. So yeah, so I kind of took it a little bit harder, and then with everything that happened the second time around was kind of like, okay. Um, and you know, you have those like meetings with the doctors, and the one that I went to, it was kind of like I had all the questions and he didn't have all the answers. And I was like, I don't like this. So it was a little bit harder for me. And trying to like navigate that space of, okay, you know, we have to go with this plan. We're gonna work it however we can and see what the outcomes are, right? And I think like the cool thing about breast cancer is not the cool thing, but we've come so far with breast cancer. Um we've seen a decline, I think I read 44% decline since 1989. So we're seeing a decline in breast cancer. We're coming up with better and better treatment plans. But also, sometimes I wonder, like, what, like, aside from genetics, because I think that is one of the more common reasons why it seems to be happening so frequently. And I do think that is an environmental factor component to it. Um, so yeah, of course, everything that you like take in, because the more estrogen that you have, um, that causes issues as well. Um, so, all of those factors are you need to kind of account for. Um, but yeah, like in terms of like my reaction, it's been, up and down. Like it's with in terms of my mom. Like sometimes I'm okay with her diagnoses and she seems like she's okay, but then also you start noticing the changes in her body. And it could be from aging, but then also you're always in the back of your mind thinking about like, cancer and where that's progressing and stuff like that. So, it does create like a lot of anxiety. And we've been doing this for a while now. Like she's been doing it for a while, but as a family, we've been doing it for a while too. So, navigating that has been hard, like the whole emotions of it, the emotional roller coaster. I will say, like, there are other families that I know that it's either sometimes it's a lot quicker because unfortunately the outcomes are different. But also it's, you know, I knock on wood, thank God that my mom seems like her progression, she's still aging with grace. And she has her issues, but she also is very much such a positive light. Like if you even when you see her this past weekend, like you're like, oh, like she's so positive, and you're like, but she's gone through so much. So that's what, I love about her, but then also I don't like about her having have that being part of her story, right? Because you always hear that narrative of like black women having to like carry the brunt of so much. So that gets to me. But yeah, so like that's where I am with that. And then so like let's go to our next question. So when you talk about family history, um do you have those conversations in your family about your family history, about things that seem to be passed down in your family history? And I'll give you guys 5 minutes. All right, I'm going to give you guys 5 minutes. Okay. So, when you talk to your family about family history, do you have those conversations about genetics in your family? So, I my mom, because of the death of my dad, my mom was very pragmatic about um or like consistent, I shouldn't say pragmatic, dogmatic about just making sure that we understood our family's history and oh cool. Okay, cool. Um, someone, I'll have to look that up. Someone saying take barley, gross grass capsules, pancreatic enzymes, fresh pineapple or papaya works too, and the daily recommended allowance of zinc with each meal. Never on an empty stomach. Thank you for the random advice, but it's appreciated. I will look that up. Um, so my mom was dogmatic about like making sure that we knew our family history. Like I said, there's like heart issues on my dad's side, and then some on my maternal side as well. And then like the cancers on both sides, we have different varying cancers. So she's always been like, this person passed away from this. And the same thing with my grandfather, my maternal grandfather. Um Not necessarily to me, although he got on with my weight and stuff like that, but he was more about my he was more about like the men in my family, making sure that they check their prostate. Because I think we had an uncle that passed away from prostate cancer, if I remember correctly. And then there's some syndrome, like there's some cancers that kind of run together, which can be indicative of genetic issues. So that's something that you can possibly look into, and that's another reason to keep track as well. So let's see. The next one is this one. How has witnessing a loved one's journey with breast cancer shaped the way you feel about getting your own screening? Actually, let me see. All right. And again, that question was, how has your journey with your loved one's journey with breast cancer or any cancer shaped the way you feel about getting your own screenings? Mm, and we'll give you 5 minutes for that. So, all right. So the question is, how has witnessing a loved one's journey with breast cancer shaped the way you feel about getting your own screenings? So for me, I feel like it can be slightly more anxiety ridden, um, because of the fact that, it is very much present of the fear that you can possibly get get a cancer or something. Um and sometimes I would prefer there be way better earlier detection. So yeah, um I think my fear is more about getting a negative or a screening that doesn't show anything and then having something. That's, to me, that's worse. I'm not s- that's I think that's more of my fear than anything. So this person said cancer is not a journey. You know, everybody has a difference of opinion. Um, I just looked up the um so cancer is not a journey, and I do think it's a journey because some people go through it for such a long time. And so life is a journey, and that's just one of the you know one of the things, or one of the things that you can go through. I think anything that you're dealing with for in life can be a part of your journey. And so I think when you look at it that way, it's, in my opinion, it kind of grounds you a little bit more. Um, that this is a journey that you're going through. Um, and the fate is between you, not between you, but like, well, between you and whoever your spiritual lead is. So for me and my family, we're Christian. I do feel like I am very spiritual. And so, yes, we look at it as a journey um, that we've embarked together. We hold each other up, and we've had experiences that other people could never talk about in terms of that journey. Just as the same thing, I think, with being an individual with autism, that's a whole nother journey. I think educational journey, everything can point to like a journey. Um, because I think the point of a journey is like you're trying to get to an end almost. And you may never get there, right? But there are things along that path that you want to maybe understand, maybe connect with. Like, a journey can take you on like the craziest paths. You might meet different people along the way, especially when you're in different communities. So I think when people say it's not a journey, I think it definitely is a journey. And it does run in families. I know that through lived experience as well as through um, because I did do medicine. So like I've studied biology. Like it is definitely, it does run in families. Like there is a genetic component to it. Um, I You should consult your doctor or your spiritual healer, whoever you feel like you need to consult. And your beliefs are your beliefs, right? But my belief is yes, it can be genetic. Um, and I think not having cancer makes you brave, but enduring, living life despite your diagnosis makes you brave. Like there are plenty of people who could not go through the things that my mom's gone through. And so I don't think I could go through some of the things that my mom has gone through. So I will always personally say that she is a brave person. I believe that anybody with a chronic illness is a brave person because this world is treacherous. And so you do you, I do me. But I don't know what you mean by vitamin deficiency disease. There are some cancers that be like, yeah, you, and the missing vitamin is B17. I can't speak on that. I don't even know what you're talking about. I can look that, like I did like a cursory look, and it was not enough for me to speak on it. So I do not think that's right at all, for sure. I don't Yeah, I don't think that's right at all. So that to me is inaccurate. I Again, your beliefs are your beliefs, but um there's definitely both genetic and environmental factors that can cause cancers. Um and that's been proven over and over again. So yeah. All right. So let's get to our next question. And feel free, if you have any questions, feel free to respond. If you look back, I'm going to link a folder. I didn't have it prepared this time, but I there will be another one for tomorrow, and it will just have like a worksheet for you to go through as a family, or by yourself, if you're doing this as like someone who is experiencing something with, going through a cancer journey with somebody else. Um, all right. So we'll talk about, let's talk about what comes after the fear. What have you learned about yourself, your family, or your faith in this process? What have you learned about yourself, your family, or faith in this process? Okay, I think this is the last question. What have you learned about yourself, your family, or faith in this process? So I feel like and I think this is something that I've always carried with me. I think that one of the biggest lessons is to appreciate family while they're there. Get health insurance. Make sure you have health insurance. Make sure you have life insurance. And but also make sure you spend time with your family, hug them a little bit tighter because you just never know. We're human. You never know when it's your time. And I think that for a lot of people, we get bogged down with work and with life in general and not connecting with the people that matter to us the most. So just make sure that you're spending a lot of time, but then also on the flip side of that, also allowing yourself some self-care because I know like it can be taxing to like just the fact that you're even coping with it. I know you may not be the person that has cancer, but like coping with such an uphill battle sometimes it can seem exhausting. So taking care of yourself, making sure that you have your own circle of support. Shout out to my friends who have always, I'm not the most, I don't really speak on a lot. So I know that my friends have been there when I need them. And, they've been there to talk to fill in the gaps sometimes and vice versa. So I am forever grateful for that. And then also, just making memories, making sure that's one thing that I kind of wish, um, this is just as an aside, like, because I have a million pictures of my mom. I take pictures of my mom all the time. But like with my dad, like I don't have like a photo of like me, my siblings, and my dad. So I wish I had something like that. I think even with my grandmother, we have like a few pictures, but I wish we had like more pictures. Um just to hold those memories or whatever. Um so yeah, like take all the pictures. I know some people like my partner does not like taking pictures, but I still take my own personal pictures, just as my reminder. And like even seeing, I think there's something beautiful in watching someone grow old as well. So like seeing like the changes in my mom, it's sad, but also it's very beautiful. So yeah, just cherish those moments and journal. And I say journal because like you you just need an outlet. Sometimes it's not about anything else but then an outlet. And I think you should do the same thing with your kids. Write notes to each other. I've seen young families having to go through the same thing. Um, so I do um I'm blessed to have my mom for as long as I have her. And, you know, just take care of your family. I would say that. And that's what I'm closing with. All right. See you guys. The folder will be attached And that will be it. All right. See you. Bye. See you tomorrow.